Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulihil Kareem wa ala alihi wa ashabihi wa nistanna bi sunnatihi ila yawmiddin. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, brothers. We have come very close to the end of Surah Al-Baqarah, as you can see. After today, inshallah ta'ala, for tomorrow we'll have only the last 3 ayah of Surah Al-Baqarah. And with the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we'll be able to finish Surah Al-Baqarah as we are going through, going through each ayah, try to understand anything, any incident behind the ayah, what Allah trying to say in this ayah. And not a deep tafsir, but just to understand the translation and any important events that's related to this one. So we're just going to quick recap from the Juz 3. As I mentioned, the Juz 3 started with the Ayatul Kursi, if you remember. And with the Ayatul Kursi, we have some ayah that Allah said, like how Allah is a wali to the believer. Then Allah gave the example of Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam, the 2 examples of Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam. Also the Wazair alayhi salam, the how he was dead for 100 years. So all these things. And then Allah started talking about the matter of the money. And we said that Allah divided this matter of the money in 3 parts. The first part is the sadaqah, the longest part, the 14 ayats. So that's the best thing you can do with your money is sadaqah. So Allah encouraged a few times, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, do sadaqah and do this, and you will get the reward. And also Allah in those ayah Allah mentioned that don't do the sadaqah for showing off, and don't you help someone and don't come back and remind him to harm them. Look, that is the time I helped you or something. So Allah talked about the sadaqah. So today we'll talk about the other 2 parts of the money. The first thing is the riba. We'll talk about the riba. That's the worst thing you can do with your money. And then we'll talk about the loan transaction. So we'll start with the ayah number 275. And according to the lot of scholars, like not 1 or 2 scholars, a lot of scholars, these 7 ayah, starting from 275 to 281, these 7 ayah are the last ayah of the Quran, revealed on Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So this is the last 7 ayah that revealed, and that is the opinion of a lot of scholars. So if you go through this way, the ayah number 281 is the last ayah of the Quran, you can say, revealed on Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But then, as you know, he told the Sahaba, and Jibril, he's got the command from Jibril alayhi salam that to put these ones in Surah Al-Baqarah and finish. So Surah Al-Baqarah started when he moved to Medina, and it's finished just before he passed away. So it's almost like a 10 years time. The Surah Al-Baqarah came down in different parts in 10 years of time, starting from before the Battle of Badr to this one. So in this last 7 ayahs, Allah talking about the riba, and Allah is saying that those who eat riba, and Allah said what eat hulu, So it's by using this word also is a derogatory time. When Allah said if you remember the instruction in the Quran about the ghiba, if you say backbiting, what is the worst thing that you can do similar to backbiting? It's like eating the flesh of your dead brother. So that is when Allah says eating something bad, eating, the word eating basically is something a derogatory time in Arabic language that you use to, even in our language, we say that you eat this or eat this, something like in a negative sense. Allah uses it. So Allah says that whoever eat riba, his situation will be in the day of judgment as if he was touched by the shaitan, meaning the shaitan has touched him or beaten him, and he will have no sense basically. He has no sense what he has done. And then Allah is saying that because they say trading is like riba. So this is a common thing that at that time, people at that time and people in our time also, they say the business and riba is same, interest is same. It's just like transaction, So there's nothing different. But Allah is saying no, riba is haram and business is allowed. So by saying this, Allah is definitely mentioning that there's a big difference between interest and between the trading. And then Allah is saying that so whoever receives an admonition from his Lord and stops eating riba. So who's going to stop it? Obviously the door of repentance is always open. So Allah is saying that he will not be punished for the past, and his case will be with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But whoever returns to riba, so you left the riba, you left the interest, and you come back to the interest again, then you will be the dwellers of the hellfire, as you all understand. And also in this ayah you will see Allah is always talking about the person who was taking the riba. So the person who is eating riba or taking riba basically, not the person who is giving. But as we know that in a very famous hadith of Rasulullah said, according in the interest, related to the interest, 4 people will be equally, they're equally wrong, because the one who takes riba, the one who gives riba, one who write it down, and one who become witness. All 4 of them are equally in the same sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They're equally mistaken, they equally did the crime. And then Allah said, Allah will destroy riba and will give increase to sadaqah. So Allah is bringing a comparison between the riba and sadaqah. Obviously, there's two extreme points. The riba, as I say, that Allah destroy this, meaning Allah has no barakah in the riba, and on the other hand, sadaqah, if you do sadaqah, Allah will give you barakah in your money or in your deeds or whatever it is Allah wish to. Allah will give you barakah and happiness in your life, and Allah likes not the disbelievers and sinners. You see, if the last ayah is smaller, 276, Allah said, Kaffarim Asim, disbeliever and sinner, two negative words. What it means basically, the disbeliever, the people who are not Muslim, who doesn't have iman or something, they don't care, but they are also going to be punished. I mean, they're going to be punished for their kufr, obviously, but they are also doing riba. So that is also a crime by themselves. And Allah is saying even the sinners, and by sinners here mean the people who have iman, who is not kuffar, but people who have iman, like people who are Muslim, but they are doing this sin. So that's why Allah mentioned these two words together, kafarin and athimin, to mention the importance that how heinous of a crime of riba is. The next two ayah, Allah is saying, Innal lazina amanu wa amilus salihat wa aqimus salata wa atawuz zakat. So Allah is basically telling, encouraging people to leave riba. Allah is saying, look, people who believe, this is a very common ayah, you all know that Innal lazina amanu wa aqimus salat, establish the prayer and give zakah, their reward is with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you become a person like that. And then next Allah said, oh, you believe, be afraid of Allah. Attaqullah, fearful of Allah. So and also what he said, give up what remains from the riba. So in the next ayah 270, Allah is saying, Ya ayyuhallazina amanu. First of all, Allah is talking to the believers. So amanu means who believed. Then Allah is saying, fear Allah. So taqwa comes here also. And at the end, in kuntum mu'minun, if you are a believer. So in one simple ayah, Allah is saying, look, you are a believer. And if you have taqwa and you want to become a mu'min, then give up riba. So riba is affecting all these three things. Your iman, your taqwa, your to be a mu'min, everything is affected by riba. That's why Allah mentioning all these three things related to riba. And in our society, the riba is, in another hadith of Rasulullah said, riba is something like it will be in the time. He said like there will be a time coming that everybody will be touched by the riba. As if like you're sitting beside the road and the horse is running on the road. When you're sitting beside the road, you're not riding the horse. You're not riding the horse, or you're not holding the horse or anything. But the dust of the horse is come to you, because you're sitting on the road. So it will be like this. And even if you don't want to do it, it will touch you somehow or some way. So we just try our best to avoid riba as much as possible. Especially we live in a non-Muslim country, and there are so many things regarding our salary, superannuation, and all these things. And these are different issues, like there are different fiqh issues and everything. And you can ask any alim or sheikh about that. But as Allah said that we should get rid of riba as soon as possible and as much as possible. In the next ayah, Allah is saying the punishment, because the previous two ayah, Allah encourages us to leave the riba. Allah said, if you're a mu'min, if you believe, if you have taqwa, leave riba. But if you don't do this, so Allah is saying, فَإِن لَمْ تَفْعَلُوا. If even after all these things, all this encouragement, if you don't do this, then فَأْذَنُوا. فَأْذَنُوا means, fa'zanu comes from the same word as azan. What is azan means? Azan means to announce something, right? So fa'zanu, Allah is announcing something. Allah is giving an announcement. What is the announcement? Fa'zanu bi harbillahi minal rasuli. Meaning, get ready, get the announcement to have a war with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His Rasul. So meaning, and Ibn Abbas explained this ayah, he said, on the day of judgment, when the person who had riba will stand up as if he's been beaten by the shaitan. And after that, he will get his sense back. That now he's in the judgment day, he came out from the qabr and his situation is bad and everything. And after all this, he will be taken. He will ask that why I'm like this, why I'm insane. That is because he used to eat riba. And after that, the angel will come and give him a weapon, and he will say, get ready now for a war with Allah and His Rasul. And one thing to notice here, that what is war means basically. We saw a war with Rasulullah in Battle of Badr, Uhud, all this war. What is war means? You are fighting with your enemy. You are fighting with someone who is making obstacles to do, be righteous, to be. Why did Rasulullah fight with the kuffar? Because they don't want Rasulullah to spread the message of Islam. That's the fight began. And here Allah is saying, Allah, don't fight with me only, fight with me and fight with Rasul. Allah is enough to fight, right? Why Allah saying bring Rasulullah in there? Because some of the scholars mentioned that by this meaning, by Allah means all your aqidah is finished. If you have riba and this, if you don't stop riba, your aqidah is finished with Allah. And by Rasul means, fighting with Rasul means, you have no sunnah, nothing at all. So you both sides, like the Quran and Hadith, Sunnah, aqidah and Sunnah, both finish in that way. because you are fighting with Allah and His Rasul. So this is the most scariest ayah about the riba, as Allah very explicit in this one, that people who having riba, and they, after getting the message, they don't stop taking riba or stop giving riba or whatever it is. This is the punishment, it will be happen. But on the same ayah, Allah is merciful. He's saying, you can get your, people who have given loan to someone, you can get your capital back. That's not a fine, that's fine. You can get your capital back. Suppose you give someone $1,000 in loan, and you told him, initially you told him, okay, give me back in 6 months with $2,000, so $1,000 interest. But then you, after understand the ayah, you understand the implication of the riba, you told the guy, brother, I don't need $2,000, give me my capital back, I'm happy with that. So Allah said, that's fine, and you shall not be dealt with unjustly. If that is the case, that should be fine, Allah will deal with justly. The last two ayahs about the riba, Allah is saying, if the debitor is in a hard time, so Allah is saying, so people who took riba, so as I said, like you give someone $1,000 and you ask him $2,000 in 6 months, but then you said, I understand, I'm not going to be dealing with riba, so give me my $1,000 back. But this guy is in a trouble now. He cannot give it this way. So, in that case, Allah is saying, if he's in really, really trouble, you can either let him go, you can tell him as a charity, like, well, that's fine, I don't even need your $1,000. That is better for you. Allah is saying, if it is possible for you, you don't want your even capital back, say, brother, take everything what I gave it to you as a sadaqah, I don't need anything back. So because you ask initially as a riba, because Allah will take this sadaqah and forgive you, inshallah ta'ala, in that way. And the last ayah, 281, as I said, this is according to most of the scholars, this is the last ayah of the Quran, where Allah says, and be afraid of the day when you should be brought back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. At the end of this, Allah is saying, be afraid of the day, that the day of judgment, when you will be brought to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then every person shall be paid according to what he earned. So everybody will be paid whatever his deed was, and they shall not be dealt with unjustly. And when Allah says unjustly, means, what? This is another implication. Sometimes you feel like, that you're doing so much for Islam, you're learning Quran, you're praying and everything. And on the other side, you will go to the day of judgment, you will see some people, they haven't done much, but they're far away before you. They're standing, far, far away, and they're going to the Jannah in front of you. But we have to understand that even in dunya we can see this. We can see that a brother or a family is doing something for Islam for a long time, but they're still having some hardship in their life. On the other hand, some people, they are not be that much of religious, but Allah is giving them barakah in their income, or barakah in their, in their job or anything. This is for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah is the Al-Hakim. You have to understand that Allah knows why He is giving this. He deserves this, that's why Allah is giving this. So we cannot question the justice of Allah. We cannot say, no, why I'm not getting this, why He is getting this. Why I'm not getting because I did Qiyamul Layl for so many long, why I'm not getting the reward for that, and he never did a Qiyamul Layl, how can he is getting this one? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows one. So that's why Allah said, Allah will never deal with unjustly. So this is where they finish the ayah of the riba. The last two ayah, this is ayah number 282 and 283, and these two ayah about the loan transaction. So we had the sadaqah, the best option for your money. We have the worst option for the money, for the riba. Now this is for the society to run, because the society to run, you have to have loan transaction. You have to have dealing with money. So Allah is giving that guideline in this ayah. And the ayah number 282 is the longest ayah of the Quran. See, Surah Al-Baqarah is such a surah that has so many things. It itself is the longest surah of the Quran. It has the greatest ayah of the Quran, Ayatul Kursi. It has the longest ayah of the Quran here. And it has also the two special ayah, as you all know, the last two ayah, the very two special ayah that was revealed on the seventh heaven from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So all these things are in Surah Al-Baqarah. And that's why in authentic hadith, Rasulullah said that everything has a sanam. Sanam means like a peak, like a hump of a camel, right? So the camel hump. So everything has a peak. And the peak of the Quran is Surah Al-Baqarah. He said the peak of the Quran is Surah Al-Baqarah. Anyway, let's get back to this ayah. I didn't put the Arabic because it's too big ayah. So basically Allah is talking about how the loan transaction should be dealt with, and Allah is saying the guidelines for the writer. Now you have to imagine one thing. At that time, only 1 or 2 people or 3 people could write. During the time of Rasulullah, including himself, he didn't know how to write and read. But Allah is saying that whenever you do a dealing, a transaction, you get a writer who will write this loan down. And for the writer, there are some guidelines. The writer has to have justice. He can't just write anything, because the two person is dealing. If he is partial to the guy who is giving loan, he say no, he $100, he put $200 there. So he can't do this one. Allah says you have to be just. You have to fear Allah. Also, Allah said that Allah has taught the writer, and from this, people have, like scholar has derived one thing, that writing is a skill. At that time, it was a big skill. Well, it's like, you are like more than a doctor or engineer because you could write at that time. And Allah is saying, Allah has taught the writer how to write. Meaning the other knowledge, except for the knowledge of deen, even also that comes from Allah. As we all believe that. And Allah is encouraging those things. Sometimes people say, brother, I have spent so much time in reading, studying engineering. I want to learn for deen. I don't want to do engineering anymore. No, that's wrong. You do your engineering and you do your deen. Some people, they dedicate the whole life for the deen. That's fine. They want to be a scholar and alim. But you cannot look down upon the other things, because that is also comes from Allah. So those knowledge is also from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you can still carry on those paths as long as you have the good connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So after the writer, Allah is talking about the one who will dictate the loan. If the transaction is going between two people, like older people, he don't know how to say this thing, so you need someone to dictate the loan, and he has to have the same guide rules. He has to be just, he has to fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and also the witness. And Allah said here, this is one of the controversial ayah that non-Muslim pick, that here Allah said that if you have to have two men as a witness, and if you don't get two men, one man and two women. So the non-Muslims say, look, Islam is very bad. Why bad? They don't look down upon the woman. Why one man equal to two women? So this is the ayah, they bring it as Allah said in the Quran, they know one man equal to two women. But Allah said this only in regards to the loan transaction. So first of all, how do we defend these things? This is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If Allah says so, we follow this. Allah knows the reason. And Allah has given a reason here in the same ayah. Allah is saying, why two people? Because at that time, the number of ladies was very low at that time. And ladies are not like this time. That time, it's hard to get someone to get the loan. And they are always busy with their household work. They don't have the knowledge of the dunya at that much. Because that is the situation, that was the society at that time. Education said, whatever it said. And on the other side, men is to control all the business and everything. They are in the marketplace. They will, even Muslim, non-Muslim, in every sector of that society at that time. So Allah said it is hard to get two women. And also Allah said, because they are busy with their household thing, raising up the children and everything, they could forget. Because they are not accustomed with these things. If something that you don't know is more intent that you're going to forget about these things. Meaning that if you don't understand a lecture, so Sheikh Yusuf is giving a lecture, you don't understand anything. He's giving a lecture in Arabic. Can you remember anything? If you don't understand, no, you can't remember anything. If he says it in English and in a simpler way, maybe you will understand 50%, 70%, 80% of this. So if the ladies doesn't understand what is the transaction going on, how the dealing of the money going, so it's more chance that they will forget. That's why Allah is saying, bring two. So if one forget, the other one can back her up. So that's what Allah said here. And also Allah said, don't be lazy about writing the contract. Meaning, this ayah is such a big ayah, so Allah is saying basically, like this ayah, the contract will be very big. Sometimes the contracts are very big. So, but don't be lazy on that. Don't just say, okay, that's fine, do whatever. No. Be strict on the thing, be strict on the writing and the contract. And also Allah mentioned here, to do any transaction that is a current transaction, like you going to Woolworth and buy, milk or something. You give the money, you get the milk. It's a current transaction. You're not dealing with any contract or something. In that case, the contract is not required. Otherwise, we have required every time a contract. Okay, we're buying a milk and egg, and we need a contract. No. So Allah is saying for the current transaction, you don't need any contract. And also Allah said at the end that fear Allah, that Allah knows everything, what's going on in your heart and everything. So that's what Allah says at the end. And the last ayah for today, ayah 283. This is still continuing the guidelines that Allah is saying, if you are in a journey, if you are not in your own city and you went to somewhere and you need loan or something, you are in a trouble. At that case, you can have the loan without the writing, but in that sense, you need to give the trust like something as a mortgage. Suppose you have your sword or your horse or something you have, so you give it as an entrust. Okay, take this one and until I give you money back, you keep it with you. Or even if you have done that one, you give your word that I will give you money back. And Allah is saying, if you trust someone like this, you have to be very, very faithful as you have returned the money. So Allah is saying at the end that surely his heart is sinful who doesn't keep his trust, and Allah is all knower what you do. So this is where we're going to finish it, inshallah ta'ala. And as you know, we have only 3 ayahs left. Tomorrow we're going to do those 3 ayahs, just a quick discussion about the summary of the Baqarah, how the whole summary bring into this last 3 ayahs. And from there we'll finish Surah Al-Baqarah. Jazakallahu khair, subhanakallahumma bihamdik, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.